And Mark. As promised, I'm delving into some of the concepts I left on the cutting room floor. I think this will be the only one, although I might do one for the group that I mentioned at the end of one of these bios, but we'll see how much time and how much energy I have. Okay, these people would have gotten their own books if I had come up with some way. I don't know. I had no idea. I left them on the cutting room floor for a couple reasons, which I'll get into. One is Cherry Napalm. She's a monarch butterfly, a bipedal race that kind of looks like butterfly. It has some aspects of butterflies. They don't have six legs or six arms or anything like that. They do have something in common. They call themselves butterflies, but their wings and whatnot are vastly different. They use them for protection, flight, etc. Still, but they look a lot different. Cherry Palm was a knight. Would have been a knight, immune to fire, leaves a fire trail when flying, and has super flight. In other words, she can get up to very incredible speeds, but only while flying. Her quote is, "I have created my fair share of craters over the years." And yeah, when she impacts the ground, she doesn't take any damage. There's kind of a buffer barrier right in front of her that's created. And part of that's created with her wings. Keep that in mind. She's created to have a story about good versus evil in a classic sense. The main adversary was meant to be a moth that could control gravity. It would have been blamed for the slaughter of the royal court, even though the moth is the one that did it. And the story was to take place on its own aspect of Dayfield, and that was the core. That was a big problem, the whole thing. I wanted all the 9 books to take place on the core aspect and not diverge from that, so people could get used to the world. And that was also the reason for that was also because if it had become a game trilogy involving all 9 of those stories, plus 3 player-driven stories with their own characters, I wanted that world to be the one that shined, and not the alternate aspects, although there are characters that come from different versions. Different aspects of Mourn, and even some from Earth. The other concept that I talked about in Dawn Clover was Valentine Blush. She's a Lune. Her profession's an astronaut. She has light blasts and a lunar sword. The light blasts do a little bit of damage. They do have a forceful impact, a kind of laser-esque, and she can kind of focus them to do that, but it does take immense concentration. It's normally for blinding her foes, pretty much, and she can really do a good job at it. Quote is, "Everyone comes here looking for a whale ship. Just go play the game." She's referring to Final Fantasy IV there. Her background notes are, Blush has explored countless other worlds. That's why she calls herself an astronaut. She has visited so many aspects that it's crazy. It became a hobby of hers. She's really got pale skin, pale hair, very white hair, almost a glow to her. She settled on one of the 3 moons to rest. Her sword was crafted from a core of the moon, a sliver of the core of the moon, and it is a near transparent blade with almost a white hue to it. The sword can cut through most inorganic matter like butter, but the less fractures that are in it, like polished steel and stuff like that, the harder time she has cutting through it. Her story would have taken place on the moon and had her join a group I had hoped to be an homage to Marvel's version of the Micronauts. I dubbed this group the Navinauts. They wouldn't have been small in stature or anything like that. They would have been a spacefaring group that was out for exploration, which is something that Valentine would have done. And that's kind of why I left it on the cutting room floor, is it would have been her meeting this group, and that group would have crash landed and it would have gone off, and the whole thing would have served as a vaster exploration of the aspects universe, or Mourn's universe. Because my health was waning at the time I came up with this concept, I was just like, I can't do this, because this would involve opening it up to a whole bunch more, a whole bunch of short stories, maybe a whole bunch of stuff. I was just like going, this would be an end-all character to just greatly expand upon things, and it was when I was developing this concept a few years ago that I was just realized that I was just so tired all the time, And I love Valentine Blush. I love the name. I love the concept of the character. I just wish I wish I had more time, but I don't. Yep, this is probably the last video in this series. I don't know. It depends on how much interest is taken up in this. I hope you guys have loved it. I have enjoyed coming up with everything and putting everything up there. I know my spelling hasn't been perfect, but not much I can do. Again, I have limited energy, limited time. I will see you guys all in the near future, and thank you for watching.